Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Alex from TCU Discussions, and I wanted to talk today about the impact of Supreme Rivalry on the meta. What kind of decks should you be looking out for, potentially? Tech cards, obviously, and just what Set 13 has to offer. In my opinion, this is probably going to be the third best set, if not the second best set of all time. I think Rise of the Unison Warrior, or wherever we got Frieza Charismatic Villain, I think that that's going to go down, like all those, like Dormant, Frieza, Trunks, where we got our counterplays. That's probably going to be the best set. Also introduction to our Unisons. But you could easily say that Vermilion Bloodline is second because it gave Red Violent Rays, gave us some good SCRs, Vicious Rejuvenations, okay. The main thing that we take from that is the SCR. So in my opinion, I feel that this set is the second or third best set. And so what are the cards that you should be looking to either get, decks you should be looking to play, or to get out of it? So I don't have all the leaders pulled up in front of me, but I do have a list in my head of what I think is the best leaders. So let's start off with red. So we got Bardock, King Vegeta. In my opinion, Bardock has the potential to be one of the most aggressive decks we've seen since Storm. Now, I'm looking forward to getting a Bardock list to you guys. I've got some cards basically that are going to be tossed my way because I did some wheeling and dealing in the background. But I look forward to playing an extremely aggressive list with Heartfelt Plea. I have a couple strategies that gets the bonds up and running, and I think you can Heartfelt Plea turn one if you draw the right hand. You draw 3 cards, like Heartfelt Plea, the Goku, and then the extra card, and then you're just like set. So that's a thing. And then the thing about the deck is that it's a little bit weak to disruption because as an aggro deck, in order for its like effects to work, it needs bond. And bond is like a hit or miss kind of deal when you're playing cards. Because it's very simple. If your cards don't have barrier and your opponent removes them, then it's like, yeet. Now they did kind of help the deck a little bit by making the leader bump the energy of the card, the 1-drops on board, just to prevent the fact that Secret Identity could just wipe your board and like the deck's dead. So that's helpful. However, at the end of the day, it still stands that there's some very problematic issues with that one weakness. Like green's super good against it because Charismatic can just pop a card and then you lose all your bond. So yeah, it's like hit or miss, I guess, to a degree. Moving on to King Vegeta. King Vegeta for red seems to have like the biggest meta impact potential. Not of all the decks, but between the two. And I think that the Young Invaders coming in is pretty annoying because basically, like, if you don't take your own life early, you're going to get critted. Like, all your life's just going to get critted out. So, the fact that it can return cards on your opponent's board to cheat out their, like, Vegetas, Brawlies, Gokus, what have you, is pretty good. And then to make it even better, right, you got some very good cards that both of them can play, admittingly, in the personal, the Ambitions card and the Imposing Presence. I think that the Negate that reduces a card 5k, it ignores a card, ignoring barrier minuses at 10k, negates the attack. And then for the rest of the turn, anytime your opponent attacks, that card's going to continue to lose 5k. I think that's really powerful because if it's like a key card that they need to keep that's flooding you, then yikes. So, and then the other thing that's really strong about it is the leader's top 5 search can hit super combos. It can tutor out a lot of your deck. So it's pretty good. Like overall, it's pretty good. The only thing you have to like kind of watch out for is the leader play, and like you can't play Topo. But I still think that there's ways to play around that because you shouldn't be playing Topo as early as turn 2 anyway, unless you're going against hyper aggro and you don't need to invade them by critting their life. Yeah, you could say that that's life they don't have access to, but also at the same time, it's kind of irrelevant because you'd still want to stop them with Topo. So it is what it is. And then moving on to yellow, we've got the androids and we've got Future Gohan. I think neither of these decks are very good. I think that they are definitely miss more than hit. I think that the problem with the Android deck is it has to tap out too much. You get a lot of effects for comboing the androids that bring themselves in, and that's all fine and dandy, but this was the same problem that I had with Android 16. Android 16 has too many combo bring-in cards, and that's not good. It's just not. And then the other thing is that their boss cards are not very strong either. So it's kind of meh. And Future Gohan's all over the place. Like honestly, of the decks, it's probably the weakest. But in terms of power of a Super Saiyan, that card is busted, snapped in half, and Mecha Frieza is going to abuse it. In fact, Mecha Frieza is probably going to be the best yellow deck for a very long time because they keep printing extra cards that are this good. I saw Power of the Super Saiyan in action today. I was watching Crossroll TCG. Check him out if you guys want. He's really good YouTuber, content provider for this game. And his King Vegeta versus Mecha Frieza, that card came in, and it just looked like it was doing a lot. So it's a good extra card, it's good negate, and it has a really good activate battle. Especially since you can play it for free just by having an energy open, the activate battle. So that's pretty good. And then moving on, we've got green, we've got chilled, and King Cold. Now, King Cold of the green decks definitely has the most potential. Chilled plays like set 2, it's a meme deck. I actually am going to build it just because memes. And then as far as green's concerned, King Cold has some extremely nutty cards. Some really good flooding cards with its fields. It's just a tad slow, and decks that are aggressive can just kind of push your face in. So like Sin Shenron, for example, aggro Sin can just like burst you down, like bye. Yeah, you got Dormant, you got Frieza, you got stuff that you can play, but that's all just good green stuff. And you play those against any other deck strategy that just does more. So it's not that it can't do more, but you know, yellow having Son Goku Absolute Annihilation kind of makes King Cold sad. So it's whatever it is. And then moving on to blue, we've got SS2, Gohan, and then Bojack. I think that Bojack is memey. I don't think it's going to be good. And then I think that SS2 Gohan is really, really powerful. Now, in terms of SS2, this is probably top 3 or 4 decks that could come out of this. I think it has insane push potential. The negate that it has, the Hercule negate, is actually rather annoying. It's a negate, and then it says, you're going to rest a card, I'm going to put this back in my hand, which is kind of good. And then the other thing that's kind of like good about blue now is that it has good removal in the SS2 Gohan, SR, SPR. Yeah, blue finally got what it needed. The only thing is that it is very susceptible. Like, it's a very vulnerable card. It doesn't have barrier, which thank God it doesn't. But it can put a lot of pressure and remove board wipe. So yeah. And then nothing really noteworthy out of blue that they got. Moving on to black, we've got Mecha Gabora and Supreme Kai. Now, Supreme Kai could be pretty nutty, but there's an extreme problem, and that's if you're if you play against blue and you attempt to use Kai's ability off an Overrealm, and they like God Sealing it back to hand, your whole turn is like dead because you can't do anything with it anymore. It's not going to stick. That's just pretty annoying. So, like, yeah. But I think Kai's Kai. It's going to be a fun deck. I think it has some potential, but And then Meki Gabora. Meki Gabora is probably the number one deck coming out of Supreme Rivalry. Number one, it has absurd defensive capabilities. I can't stress enough how great defensively that deck is. We definitely need like the promo card that like you discard, the Dragon Ball that you discard, draw two. We 100% need that for the deck, because without it, the deck is terrible. But with it, it is insane, because you're not just adding these balls to hand like the previous Shenron leaders. The Dragon Balls draw a card, right? Well, adding to discarding that and a ball and then drawing a card is really good. So you don't have to worry about for any reason whatsoever that you're not getting new cards. So it's a true plus, because using those balls as like defensive options is just not good. You'd much rather have like other key cards. It helps you filter your deck. It helps you see cards faster. Meki Gabura also has Poutine. It's its own topo, which is insane. You can play the Kai Negate, which is absurd. Negates attack and then warps one of your opponent's battle cards at the end of turn. Really ridiculous, because it literally stops 2 attacks for 1 energy. It has Darkness Judgment, which its activate battle is a permanent senzu bean, and it is a negate, which is ridiculous. You can play Protector of the People. This deck can be extremely defensive and very hard to get at. And then, not to mention, its 8-drop is bonkers. It warps your opponent's entire board, and then says 2 of your cards that are in the warp are going to come work for me. And you negate their skills for the duration of the game, but that's that's to be expected. The thing about Meki Gabora is it's very good at stealing your cards. It's very good at wiping your opponent's board. The idea that you can steal your opponent's cards with like the Toa Unison, the 8-drop, the Heroine's Lineage, SCR, like there's lots of things that can just go extremely wrong for your opponent when you play against Meki Gabora. And yeah, like it's a really strong deck. I have no doubt that and it has insane board removal. There's cards that warp cards left and right and draw you cards for it. Like Salsa warps a card, you warp cards from your opponent's hand, they draw a card. You warp cards on board. The Shenron Wishmaster, when something's warped out of the drop area, you can warp a battle card on board and draw a card. Like the plussing is just nuts. Like it's like a +2 swing on that alone, not to mention like other warping effects that you have. And you can cheat all of them out by for 1 energy. Like it's really good. So all you have to do is get 2 Dragon Balls in there in the drop area, and then you're set up, because Meki Gabora is going to add 2, and then you're going to discard them, and then you're set. So the Toa, that's a blocker, is really good. Like there's just so many cards that are really good in that deck. I have no doubt that Meki Gabora as a black leader is going to become one of the premier leaders exiting. I think it is the number 1 deck, and the negates between the Kai Negate, Darkest Judgment, yeah, just bonkers. Demigod Unison is going to be getting Dark Brawly. Black got a lot of good stuff. They got a lot of good stuff. I know, like, everyone was, like, concerned about Dark Brawly support. I'm going to be real with you. It's not that great. Like, it's okay. Like, it's not, like, 7-drop Heartfelt Plea impacting. It's just, like, extra 30k black cards that are alright to have. So, the Vegeta's pretty nice as an overall card. It might be a card that, like, I try as a couple. Like, if I want to walk away from Heartfelt Plea, what would I play? Maybe that. I don't know. But, yeah, just really, really good. Really, really good color overall. I think black had the best showing out of Supreme Rivalry, especially given the fact that we have the SCR, which is, I guess, something we should talk about. So the Rebella, or whatever her name is, she's pretty good, but she seems pretty niche. I haven't actually seen one. I've seen 3 or 4 cases opened and not one. I bought 5 boxes myself, didn't get one. I have the Sin and the Gohanks SCR, but she's pretty good. Looks like she does some stuff with Kai. Does a little bit of that same thing that Meki Gabura does. So I'll have to give that card a shot at some point just to see. And then the Sen SCR is the best SCR of the set, not close. And it's because it's, like, really good. Like, really, really good. Like, you can play it in any deck. Again, it can just come down and destroy everything. Like, it's a very good defensive card. It's a blocker, taps multiple cards, ignoring barrier, including unison and leaders, which is really impactful. And then tap 4 becomes dual attack, double strike, 40k, and a blocker. So, whoo, really, really good. Really, really good. And in Sen Shenron, whoo, and that card is busted. I talked to you guys about that yesterday when I made the deck profile. But I think that that's the best SCR because I think it's the most splashable and has like the easiest access of play while having the highest finishing potential. And then we've got Go Hanks. Go Hanks, if you look at it as just a color card, is the best SCR. That card is absolutely redonkulous. You can cheat it out with the Shenron card, so Bulma is going to get really good. Look out for Bulma. Bulma is going to become one of the premier decks of the format. It's not going to be close. That SCR alone boosts the deck insanely because the Shenron SCR for Bulma is already really good because it cheats out cards that are also blockers. Like, they just net you advantage, like, super good. And then you have lots of negates that you can play that are a negate blocker. You have testing opposition. There's so many ways for you to be able to handle your opponent's aggression. And they just need insane board removal, and they probably just won't get it. So, and then the SCR on top of it, the fact that the Shenron leader cheats it out is whoo-wee, sheesh. That card is, you just +1 and then your opponent loses. And again, +1, and you just keep +1ing. They can't do anything to it. And the worst part is, especially in Bulma, because you can block for the unison, like, you're never going to attack it. And not only, and even if you do, it's going to cost you cards because it's a 25k unison, which is really nutty. And then its activate main minus is really good. So, yeah, my personal opinion, if you're looking at just red, it is the best. But Sin's like, you know, more generic. So, but those are kind of the cards that you should be looking out for in set 13. There's a few niche cards that might have like a little bit of play. Like, for example, I think that the, what is it? Some of the like the Demigrai Unison, for example, it's not just going to be good in Dark Brawly. It'd be good in any Warp deck. It might be good in Vegex, possibly. But I don't think you would play it over like their standard Unison. I think we just have like a lot of good cards like that Unison in the set. Like another card being like, if like your deck can do something with tokens, the chilled negate that's green is pretty okay. We got a couple of decent Unisons as well with this, with like the King Vegeta Unison's kind of good, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that Supreme Rivalry is a really, really good set, and I look forward to seeing how our meta is impacted by it. That's all for this video discussion. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and this is Action TCG, and I will see you next time. Later.